We'll have to science that later. But hey guys, welcome back. Game number 1 coming up briefly on Abyssal Reef. I'm just gonna be quiet and play the tempo song again for this. So enjoy while we get the game going. We can go whenever the players are ready.
The Vespine is always greener in somebody else's base. You dream about blowing up theirs, but they have a real good race. Just look at the map around you, right here on Abyssal Reef. As ultras and links surround you, so make like a tree and leave. Under the sea, typing GG. Darling, it's better typing those letters, take it from me. After the game they rage all day. Typing mean words is not okay. Multiple scanners, that's not good manners. Just type GG.
I'll tell you what, I've certainly missed map introductions, giving you those extra few seconds of silence, but this one particularly groovy. I can't wait to actually get the map intro part of it done. But yeah, that's a teaser for a song we wrote for it, guys. We got some other fun ones in store too, but it is game number 1 here in the round of 8 for the BTSL. This tournament, of course, powered by Twitch. And in the bottom right, we've got none other than the Terran. He spawns blue. It's ByuN.
In the top left is the red Zerg. He is losira.
And of course, if you guys are playing StarCraft 2 on this map, you should absolutely make sure your physics settings are on ultra to get the maximum effect of this map. We've actually had a couple of people commenting on our YouTube videos, kind of perplexed as to like what's going on. And I guess to explain really quick for those who have not been keeping up with the theme of things, this map is underwater, so corpses rise to the surface, and it's why the physics go like out the window bonkers.
It doesn't make any sense, but I can tell you that if you're playing this game, then you probably do not want the physics up to 100. Because...
Well, that depends. I mean, for me, if I'm losing, but my tanks are blowing everything to oblivion, I can at least die with a smile on my face.
Okay, well, I guess there is that theory. I was gonna say, I was like playing a ZvT and like I had like 100 Ling corpses, I swear to God, rise up into my camera view.
You're just like, no, I can't see anything, get out of the way.
Basically, I was kind of distracted, so that's my warning anyway.
Well,
you
regardless,
do what you want.
It's neat and cool that this is an effect in the game. But yeah, so you guys are gonna see things maybe get a little bit wild, a little bit weird on the map. Find out as we get more into it. But ByuN and losira, I think, is gonna be a really fun matchup. TVZ though has not been ByuN's best friend lately. He did pretty well versus Solar, which is cool, but his versus Zerg has not nearly looked as efficient as it has in the past. And this is a guy who's gone from doing like 2-1-1 every single game, like 100%, no variation, to now doing things like Hellions, which I think he's going for here. And the Hellions haven't been bad, and the Hellbat builds have kind of been 50-50, but it's been strange watching ByuN forced into the necessity of doing them. And oh god, he just barely missed a scout on those Lings. They're not going to get canceled on the command center, but that's going to be really annoying.
Yeah, maybe. losira's waiting, hoping to catch maybe only like a single Marine out. Or 3 Marines, I guess, like if it was a 2-1-1. But he's going to find Hellions, which is going to be very easy for ByuN to clean up these Lings with and chase down, too. Whereas, you know, with Marines, they could have run away. So easy peasy, cleans them up, no problem. But right, ByuN has been doing more Hellion builds. He's gone to about 50% Hellion builds, 50% 2-1-1s. But these Hellion builds can be, like, there's multiple versions of them. There's Hellbat all-ins, there's 3 CCs, there's with or without the medevac. I mean... This one's gonna be medevac and armory.
Yeah, I was gonna say the medevac and the armory seems to be a lot more common for ByuN here on this one, and less about the greed. I'd say especially on this map, it makes sense because this doesn't exactly have a super easy like wall off that third dynamic for Terran, but I'm not sure what the incentive is or isn't. We just know that ByuN has been moving towards the Hellions for certain. And again, it's not like there's been bad showings out of this. We've been watching him win games with this. In fact, the first attack ends up looking so bad, you're like, oh, he's going to lose the game. And then like, oh, wait, he won. Okay, never mind. Just kidding.
losira knew that something was up. I think this is why you can't just have Hellion openers, is that they're going to start just building Roachborn as soon as they see 2 Hellions. So he does have units to defend against this. But the Banshee follow-up was pretty old school, and if the Queens take damage, then that could be a problem for the follow-up.
Yeah. The Queens, of course, not getting the focus fire down the medevac. They were so busy running away, so ByuN pulls that back a little bit. That brings them closer to the Hellbats. The medevac, I thought, was boosting forward. That was his corpse flying off into space. Hellbats are dying. This isn't going to kill losira, but this did do a fair amount of damage.
It did okay. I think the Banshee follow-up will have to be kind of good here.
Actually,
yeah, and it's very not likely that it will do a lot.
Well, this is a Banshee without cloak, so this almost, in a small way, feels defensive more than offensive, especially with him just rallying outside of his base like this.
Yeah, it's weird how we can differentiate between which offensive we mean by like emphasizing the O. I've thought about that a lot.
Like, do you like him or do you like him?
Do you want offense or do you want to be offensive?
Let's get off my case, Mom. Thank you for the 250. Shroom5 says thank you for the map intro. Well, it's it's like a 50% map intro. It's only the audio, but glad you enjoyed it.
I really wish you guys could see, like, I had a cat camera that could track my cat, because Apollo's freaking out right now.
You need to do something where, like, you just stream full screen IRL stream of your cat while we're casting, so people can just go to your stream.
He moves around. So like,
oh, I don't know
have to have like a GoPro on like another cat to watch him.
Just have it set up in the corner of your room like a security camera, pointing down. The Banshee's really not getting a lot done, which is a little unfortunate. But the nice thing about the Banshee was, if there was a big roach immediate counterattack, ByuN had this to keep himself alive. The tank on the high ground, as we saw moments ago, did drive off those roaches, and he doesn't end up dying to some sort of counter to his early attack. I mean, when you open with Hellbats like that, it is, I'm not going to call it all in, but it gets very close to that definition.
It does, you know, if it utterly fails because they got roaches, then you really are kind of in a bad position. You know, you delayed your third base, you delayed your production, your sim's okay timed, but you don't have a lot to use with it. And that Banshee saves you a lot of headache about any type of counter, whether it's lings or even a couple of roaches can destroy you while you're still building a barrack. So the game goes on, but ByuN finds himself in like a not fantastic position, or rather losira finds himself in a position where he can really power up. That's a better way to put it.
Yeah.
He's at 70 drones. He's taking this fourth base, which Abyssal Reef has been kind of interesting watching the development of all of the matchups and all of these different types of pros and how they expand on the map. Terran generally expands to that position that losira is expanding to now, but sometimes they expand to the right side. So.
Well, plus, I really thought this base here would be ultimate taboo. Like, again, it's just so, I imagine tanks sitting up here, I imagine marines sitting up here, and it's just, it's such an easy to assault base. By the way, this Banshee, credit to it, it didn't do much earlier, but it got another 4 kills on top of what it did, and finally I think has made itself a little more worthwhile. 10 kills in total is not too shabby.
I agree. I thought initially this was going to be the worst location to take, but I guess the theory kind of is like, if you're going to be sieged up behind that mineral line, then you've already screwed up, I guess. I'm not sure, but I think that for Zerg, it is better to actually take the base off to the right side as the fourth. I think that's what Stu's been doing, but that's losira's choice. That's his decision. But the one problem with the reef, more so than anything else, I suppose, physics and whatever aside, is that there are a lot of alleyways, and a lot of them are chokes, right? So tanks, liberators can do very well, which you should be getting against roaches, and there's so many different alleyways that, like, you can preemptively drop and attack. Usually this would favor the Zerg, right? Because the lings would go every which way and really bother ByuN, but losira is going roaches, which is a lot more direct confrontation style. And if ByuN had gone for, actually, there you go. If he had just started his tanks early, which he did, having a factory so early, he would have like a 2-2 timing with like 7 tanks. I'm not sure if losira can beat that unless he has a really good surround.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really curious about the tank dynamic here. We talked about this last time we saw this come into play with infestors specifically. Burrow, they can cast, yada yada yada, but tanks should always make sure infestors almost never have any play whatsoever. Their range is too good. The health is too low in the infestor. There's so many concepts here where we watched. I think a lot of people saw the show match at this point, Nurchio versus ByuN, where Nurchio really brought back this play style. You know, going for the fungal growth, going for the corrosive biles. But Again, like it's a strategy that's proven to work against ByuN, and Lucira bringing it out here is gotta be really scary for him.
But even Nurchio, he was going to have trouble against ByuN on this map, and then he got this really nice surround, which kind of negates the effectiveness of the tanks. So that's what Lucira is going to have to look for. He does have Burrow, so the Infestors could also just get massive fungals with being burrowed first, and that's another scary thought for ByuN if he's thinking about Infestors. But we don't know, man. Like, he could just be thinking Roach Ravager max into Hive.
Well, so on that note, I really like that ByuN's been trying to split the forces left and right with those 2 drops and then these 2 drops, but I'm so worried, man. He has no idea about the Infestors. He's probably guessing because nobody goes this deep into Roach Ravager and just does Roach Ravager. Yeah. So I like that he's staying back with the drops when he's not using them. There's no chance he's going to accidentally fungled without at least trading out like this. But now comes the main army push. And wow, blue's hard to see on this map. Secondly, so many tanks with this push. 7
tanks. I don't even know how I did that, Rifkin.
Did you hit U and C 7?
Ah. Oh, the scanner deals with road infestors. Oh, it blasts them away.
And this is why I feel like this strategy shouldn't have resurrected. But again, this worked versus ByuN. We saw this in a best of 9.
I saw like a trail of like green goo fly up into my camera.
It was like the slug snot just like all over the place.
That was creepy. So, okay, ByuN lost a couple of medevacs he should not have, and that is important to note because against roaches, you do want to have that constant healing, but the tanks, man, they go farther fast.
While this goes on, by the way, 2 medevacs in the main, 2 medevacs into the third, and that front line wins the fight too, so absolutely tearing Lucira apart. Lucira who's on 2,000 minerals, 28 armor. Spend that money, dude, on anything. Lings, just don't die with this much money in the bank.
It looks like maybe he won't die, but he took such severe damage. He's going to lose his 5th base. He already was cut down to 60 drones, which is still not bad, but
he was,
not the 4 base he wants.
He was really banking, literally on 2 different ways, on getting ultras. He's had to spend that money he had saved up. He knows he needs units on the field. The Ultra Cavern's still not done. He wouldn't have had time to use them, so that takes away from his endgame plan. It forces him to use money on units that are currently being ineffective. This is really bad for Lucira. ByuN may not have killed him here, and he's only on 3 bases back at home, but he really knocked Lucira down with these attacks.
Yeah, he did. That was really well executed. I mean, if ByuN had all of his drops with his army and didn't lose those medevacs, he might have actually won the game now, but that's,
If ByuN didn't get those Infestor kills, I think this would have looked like a very different game, by the way, too.
Yeah, that too. Although, he had his tanks in such a great position and so spread out that even if his entire army, like my army, got fungled, it still would have been a very effective trade with the tanks. Like, I don't know if Lucira should have been pushing in like he did with the, there's like 3 tanks kind of behind a bridge, crevice, whatever you want to call it. So that goes back to just, finding a really good position, which in the middle of Abyssal Reef is going to be really hard to do because it's the tiniest portion of the map right now.
This positioning is why I thought this base would never get taken out of anybody, by the way, because ByuN's going to be able to deny the mineral lines without ever committing into the actual armor fight. Lucira can't get to the army to touch it back there either, so he's just going to have to take drone losses. Corpse is shredding on the left side. Ravagers moving on the right side. A couple of fungal growths looking to hit the army, but the tanks absolutely obliterate the Infestors. And while the army supplies hold even, this game doesn't feel like it. Oh, chitinous plating's not done. Any ultras that come to the front line are going to get absolutely shredded. And look at that reinforcement line coming down the middle of the map for ByuN.
I really wish that ByuN would get a second factory, because I think if he had double thumped tanks, the ultras would also not be a problem at all. But he's got a couple of Whip Raiders.
I don't think they're going to be a problem.
Those are the Ravagers.
Yeah, he wipes them out. Chitinous plating didn't even finish. GG. ByuN takes game number 1. Very nicely done too. Again, that strategy is certainly if we hadn't just cast like a best of 9 show match with him and Nurchio won that using that strategy in almost every single game, I wouldn't have been so scared for ByuN going into that, because it is ByuN and we know he knows how to handle himself. But it was certainly alarming seeing like Lucira pull out this build that ByuN had just recently lost to.
Yeah, that's why it certainly was. But I think that show match helped ByuN account for the Infestors, so that the pre-scan and the scan when the army went down was good. And then I do think also Lucira kind of, he was banking a lot on those Infestors, but the other option again was trying to get a better surround on the army. Didn't happen.
I keep checking the brackets. I really want to see what happens with Mcanny and Gumiho. It's still only 1-0 on the brackets. I don't even know if that's like tied up now or if Mcanny's gonna advance, but I'm sitting here crossing my fingers for the guy for sure. The winner of this might even play against Jockshi or Innovation. That'll be the first of 2 semifinals. Billowy and Stat still deciding up top side too. Actually, if Mcanny wins, we're guaranteed a TVP finals, I think, if Lucira loses here. Because it's all Terran down here. It's all Protoss up there.
And Zergs can go to hell.
Yeah, a little bit. By the way, we missed one of these resubs. Thank you to Quadici. Quadici? Quadici. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm taking guesses here, but thank you for 23 months of me not knowing how to say your name. I really do appreciate it. Looks like we're ready to go, though. So Cactus Valley will be the final. Nope, excuse me. Game 2. Got my series mixed up here in my head. Game 2 in this best of 3.
Or you have no confidence in Losira. Either one.
Losira, I think, is pretty good at the game. We'll see if he can bring this back. He obviously has the strategies. He knows the builds that can beat his opponent. We'll see if he can maybe execute them better, or if he decides to play a different style. Either way, in the top left, kicking off game number 2, it's Losira.
In the top right, as the blue Terran, he's ByuN.
Was Losira one of those guys that tried to... He was one of the ones that tried to change his name, right?
Yeah, to his real name, Kong Ho.
Kong Ho?
And then no one in the Western world, which is most of StarCraft 2's fan base, cared.
You know, there's a lot of people who do name changes here and there. We've seen it with Salvation into Forte, and of course Major picks up like a different name every second month, it feels. But we never really see people announce that stuff, and I feel like if you put out a very public statement saying, please guys, I would like for you to refer to me as like blank instead of Major anymore and stuff like that, people wouldn't keep referring to their old nicknames. But I can't think of a time anyone's put out like a public statement where they're like, you know what, please call me this now, thank you.
I can't think of one either, but I feel like there's got to be at least one time. I don't know. Dude. Well, of course, for Major, no one ever takes his name changes seriously. For Salvation into Forte, he wasn't a big enough name to really like care that much. Might be rude. But Losira was such a big name for so long that it was quite an abrupt turn, even if it was during his like lowest point in his career. Kong Ho. He should have gone back to Losira like when he just like became like a 10 out of 10 on the hot scale, man.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, he like grew out his baby fat and all that.
He did, and I feel like I want to say Zest had something to do with it. Okay, like they joined the same team. I mean, Zest is going to the gym every day and wearing stylish clothes, and this year I was like, that sounds like a good idea.
I just want to go on the record real quick and state that in the history of casts, I think Zombie objectifies men a lot more than I've ever objectified a single woman on any of these casts.
Talking about someone's appearance is not objectifying them.
Listing them as the sexy object that they are, however. Thank you very much.
Piece of item.
You inanimate object, you. Thank you to Lofi Breadlicious. Or Breadicus? Oh, Lofi Breadicus, excuse me. I've got the delicious on the mind. For the 4-month Twitch Prime resub. Glad to have you back on the Base Trade Brigade.
But you're right, we absolutely have talked more about his appearances.
Yeah, no. I mean, I obviously don't actually care. It's just funny to note. But, okay, so the Overlord's going to get a really nice scout on ByuN here in a moment. Already seen the factory. Doesn't quite dip in to see the tech lab on that barracks, but I got to imagine for Losira, he goes, you know what? ByuN's been playing this one way for a very long time. It's probably going to be the same build as I saw in Game 1 because this is exactly what he always does.
Yeah. I mean, he did win after what was considered, I think, a failure of a Hellbat attack. It did some damage, but not enough to really usually warrant it.
Yeah, actually.
Thrown down something, so
well, so that I want to talk about that failure, by the way, too. So I mentioned it briefly in that last game, right? Like, he'll do these attacks, he'll go with the Hellbats, it'll be borderline all in, but he'll still win the game even if it fails. And I feel like for ByuN, like the bare minimum even would be killing all the queens, at least so the Banshee can get a little more free reign. I think this time he's relying more on the cloak than he is about killing the queens, which I think is really cool. But also this might just be a fake. Hold on. He wants to psych that Overlord out. I mean, it'll be whether he cancels the cloak or not. He might still go with like Viking first into a Banshee. That's still totally a viable option. But no, there's the cancel. So he was totally just trying to psych out losira. That's kind of cool because this might even bait out a couple of Spore Crawlers, force a faster layer for Overseers. There's a lot that comes from that threat of like, oh, Cloak Banshees might be coming my way. It's funny to see him still go invest in the Banshee afterwards, but there's not going to be Cloak attached to this.
No. It is interesting to see him skip that armory though. I mean, the Hellion drops can still be enough of a surprise to do effective damage, but clearly that's not happening here. Where the Hellbats, usually at least they do get something done. They force out a lot of lings, or maybe they kill a queen or something. But not much to be said. This kind of is a game where sure, ByuN's Viking might get a couple Overlord kills, his Banshee might get some damage done, but
ooh, this is
probably better off just going for a fast 3rd CC.
Some fancy micro. Of course, you can't heal Hellions, so it feels bad, man. But if you had an armor, you could have made this in the Hellbats and healed him up. Either way, he is going to be driven out of the base. And what did he kill for this? Not much, right? Even this Viking's not going to get that Overlord.
Yeah, not a very effective opener, but last game wasn't that much either. And if he saves the medevac, saves the Hellions, I guess he could add them in as Hellbats. Losira is going to go into Roaches though. Again, it just took a little while, didn't feel the necessity to make them as his only protective measure.
Yeah. People were discussing name changes in the chat, and some, of course, are bringing up the Neeb versus Neeblet situation. I asked him at BlizzCon about this too, and I can't remember exactly what his response was, but it was something along the lines of like, yeah, I don't really know what happened there, but we just kind of rolled with it. Like, I don't think that was an official name change, but yeah, Neeb does have accounts named Neeblet.
That's the thing. That's what we're kind of trying to get at, though, is that there's no official, hey, Twitter, please call me blank.
Yeah, like if Neeb had a tweet out or a public statement or just even in an interview, he's like, you know what, I want to go by Neeblet now instead of Neeb. It's very different than just like suddenly changing the name and hoping everyone rolls with it.
I do think maybe he mentioned it in an interview if someone asked him. But even then, it's a little harder to see and like link that, right, and go tell everyone. So, I don't know. Maybe it was.
By the way, I have an update to report. Looks like M. Canning decided that he's got enough money from his countless wins and his very successful stream, so he's taking pity. He beat Gumiho in the first game to prove to everyone that he could do it, but then perhaps match throwing afterwards? I don't know. Lost 2-1.
That was elaborate, thank you for that.
It was.
There was a Nidus worm on the way.
Yo,
so
I never...
roach timing paired up with this.
I never noticed the like throbbing a Nidus worm does getting out of the ground. That's actually super gross.
Okay.
Did you not see that? It was like turtle heading out of the ground.
Yeah, I did. I've known it does that.
There we go.
I think it's called prairie dogging, by the way.
Or prairie. I guess there's two different ways you can call it. I've heard it called prairie dogging too. Yeah.
It's like rat race.
But anyways, I love the multiple Nidus worms in terms of drawing ByuN's attention across multiple fronts. But ByuN's ready to take a fight if he needs to. He's down in army supply, sure, but he's got 1-1. He's got stim, and it's just roaches. Like, this really isn't that threatening, but it is threatening to be in the wrong position at the wrong time, and that's what this Nidus worm in the main presents. We got creep tumors coming down. We got ravagers morphing in. ByuN's boosting back here with these medevacs, or not boosting back, but he's coming back with the medevacs. He's got the marines now stimming in. Not many marauders, no tanks set up. This is actually going to be a tough fight.
I don't know. As long as he dodges the corrosive biles, these are a lot of marines with 1-1, so their damage output's pretty good.
Yeah, SCVs actually get pulled in to just lock this down. He's going to bleed out SCVs, which kind of sucks, but he knows that losira has committed so much to these Nidus worms that if losira doesn't win with this, it won't matter if ByuN lost his SCVs or not.
Yeah. I was gonna say, you don't have to eat the corrosive bile. A tank sieged up, but he figured the marines are enough to not even have to go back into it.
I actually feel like ByuN just left that Nidus worm alive intentionally as long as possible, so he's hoping to get more units to come through it and kill. But that was ended up... I mean, losira got workers for this 22. He's going to kill one of the barracks. Okay, he actually got some value out of this attack. But all things considered, he sacrificed tech, he sacrificed advancing forward in the game, and as cool as this may have been out of losira to do, he's actually in trouble, I'd say.
It's a big sacrifice of tech to do this. Obviously, he has no upgrades, he has no way to deal with drops, and this is, you know, times. ByuN's doing okay. I think losira could deny this third base for a very long time, and that might be, combined with the SDV kills, enough to try and make a game out of it. But that's still good here.
Yeah, the 1-1 aside, I feel so almost bad. Oh, another nice one gets up in the main, but the tank's already firing on it. Anything that comes out of this is going to get blasted by the tanks. Yeah, it feels bad for the roaches. But yeah, that's another thing too. How many Nightstorms have died? 4. That's 400 minerals, 400 gas. You know, that's your hive no longer happening.
That's a good way to put it. Not that a hive would be very effective. A hive would be a Hail Mary. Like, I hope I can get to brew boards, basically, without any upgrades on my roaches.
Yeah, well, hell, ultras. I mean, even kind of splitting, I don't know. But the 2-1 now on the bio is going to be too much. He's got plus weapons coming down for tanks. I mean, ByuN in a more even setting was able to take on lusira's army like a similar composition in the previous game, but not this time around. Losira's at such a deficit in so many ways. And I just feel like if it weren't for, even if it weren't for the tanks, the 2-2 bio is just going to rip through these roaches.
Yeah. There's not much hope here. These queens don't even have that many transfuses. Like, these aren't going to be the everlasting roaches. Trying to get a good concave. This is not looking so great. Get the tank. 3 more tanks back into. Nothing but Ravagers left over too, so sniping them will be easy.
Yeah, and of course there is, I guess, no concussive shells, so you can't really chase him down so easily, but that Bioforce, again, with your stim, units off creep, not a problem as he keeps dodging the biles. That Banshee, I keep wanting to do more, but it's got 13 kills already, so you've done enough. Just live, girl, just live.
You get to go home to your family. Yeah, that's going to be game. He's still on top of the Raptors. Sierra's got to know it's over.
Yeah, this was a really good series out of ByuN. I'm glad to see he's not slumping in TVs. I was really worried that like all the Zergs would be breaking him, but GGs get called, and ByuN will move on to the semifinals. Getting out of that round of 8 with a nice 2-0. He will fight either Jockshi or Innovation, but we don't know which yet. As we said, though, Gumiho did advance over Mcanny to fight against Classic. See if they're playing right now. They're already in game. Yeah, they're already in game. So we will now have to wait a little bit. I'm going to guess probably Jockshi and Innovation will finish up first because they did start much earlier. So, yeah, I hope you guys have been enjoying the BTSL. I hope you're having a good time. Of course, a couple things to just remind you about while we're waiting. First off, one of them is our mega tournament fundraiser. We broke $4,000 just tonight, which is awesome. So getting really close to the first of what is hopefully many show matches as the $5,000 tier reward. And all these other cool things happening for the channel. But the mega tournament fundraiser is always kind of our pinnacle. It's our baby, our focus point. Even with awesome stuff like the Ting Season 3 finals, things like the Corsair Cup, BTSL running in the background, all of that really just is us working towards slowly grinding out that $30,000 that we want to try and raise to make this tournament a really awesome tournament and not some sort of just like, oh, we rented out like a cheap land center and did the best we could with the money we had. Like, so do check it out. Of course, we got Korean content coming out of our team house here shortly. The first of several vlogs will be released this month. And of course, above all else, we got that really cool tournament that I mentioned. Jake will be casting and hosting on Monday. But we're not done with the stream. We're not done with the broadcast. We still have 2 semifinals and the grand finals to go through. We're just going to go to a commercial break. So thank you guys for watching. I guess a quick little push for our YouTube. If you guys don't know, youtube.com/BaseTradeTV. We got a lot of stuff uploaded over there. Please do check it out. And we'll see you guys in a little bit. This will be a bit of a longer ad break because we don't know how long this will be, but we will be back as soon as a game is ready to go. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.